Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to your video lecture for Epi Info 7. So, the first thing that I want you to do is to open your PowerPoint, which was sent along with this video. I hope you're able to open it. If you open the correct PowerPoint, you should be able to see in your screen this slide. So the title of your topic for today is Introduction to Epi Info, Data Summarization and Presentation. So that's it. This will be our topic. Now, we wouldn't be able to study Epi Info without you having the software. So where do you actually get the software? In the second slide, you'll be able to see a certain link. So what I want you to do is to actually copy that link. Now, let me just transition to hands-on. What I'm going to do here is copy this and then paste it in my browser. There you go. If you were able to do that successfully, you should be able to arrive with this look. So as you can see, the site is owned by Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC. And under that, you have Epi Info TM. In this site, in this page, you would be able to see all the downloads for Epi Info 7. So what I want you to do is that you click on this download installer button. Okay. And hopefully, it doesn't turn out to be like my screen over here, which failed to download the installer. Now, I think the problem here is that my IP or my internet here at school is actually blocking the site from downloading. But you should be able to download Epi Info if you're not accessing this using the UP Manila internet. So if you click on download installer, you'd be able to download the installer for Epi Info 7, which is actually very easy to use. Now, during the installation process, I just want you to click on the default installation features so that it would be quick and it would look like my installation of Epi Info 7. Okay, if you are a Mac user and you're looking for an Epi Info desktop version, I'm sorry to inform you that Epi Info doesn't not have an app that allows you to download an installer for Mac. What we have here, which is very interesting, are Epi Info versions for mobile devices. So whether you're an Android user or an iOS user, there is a certain software for mobile devices. Now, what's a big difference between Epi Info for mobile devices and Epi Info and the desktop? Well, the desktop Epi Info has more features, a lot more features than Epi Info for mobile devices. However, the essentials can be found in the mobile version. Now, we won't be talking about the mobile versions. We'd be focusing on the desktop app. And inside the desktop app, we would actually be zeroing in data summarization and presentation. So that's just a very small part of a certain module inside Epi Info 7. So we'll not be discussing everything. But hopefully, I will be able to discuss how you can enter specific modules inside Epi Info 7 and a brief introduction. I hope I could also discuss a brief introduction of what Epi Info 7 can do if you would be trying to really learn its functions. Okay, and that brings us to this slide. What is Epi Info 7? Ano nga ba siya? It is a software developed by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and you might actually have a hint as of now when you actually went into the website. Epi Info 7 is a series of freely distributable tools and utilities to help in the conduct of outbreak investigations, manage surveillance databases, and perform statistical analysis. Now, upon reading this line, you might actually be having high expectations as to what Epi Info 7 can do. But basically, what it can do, if we're going to laymanize them, and if we would like to be very technical about it, it can create a questionnaire, it can customize data entry, it can enter data, and it can analyze data. Now, if you would think about it, three of its functions that it can rapidly do can also be done by other software, such as Microsoft Excel, Stata, or R. What's unique about Epi Info 7 is that it can actually create a questionnaire, or it can create a data collection tool there. Now, what are the advantages of Epi Info? What sets it apart from the other softwares? First, of course, it's free. So you don't have to pay for it. As long as you have the installer, which can be easily downloaded from the website, you would have access to Epi Info. Second, it is user-friendly. And when we say user-friendly, you can navigate through the software through points and clicks. So you don't need to learn a programming language in order to manipulate the software. You just need to point and click certain buttons in order to tell Epi Info what to do with your data. Next, it is an all-in-one software. So from the design of your data entry forms to entering data to analysis, all of this can be done inside Epi Info 7. So you don't need to shift from software to software, which makes it, the fourth advantage, time efficient. Now we've talked about advantages. How about the disadvantages for Epi Info 7? Well, one big disadvantage is that it's only available for Microsoft Windows OS users. So if you're a Mac user, if you're using Linux or other operating systems, sorry to say, but there's currently no available Epi Info 7 software for that. Another disadvantage of Epi Info 7 is that there are lingering glitches both in the mobile version and in the desktop version. So the bugs are actually very rampant in the mobile version. Epi Info 7, CDC has actually managed to clean some of the glitches that we encountered in the desktop version. Hopefully, all of the commands, all of the things that we will be doing inside this lecture would not have any glitch or any bugs associated with it. And I think so far, when I asked my students to run this in the previous semesters, they were not able to encounter any glitches or bugs. So hopefully the same goes for the current version of Epi Info 7, which is 7.2. Now, Epi Info 7 has a number of modules that tend to separate its variety of functions. And these modules are what you see inside this current slide. So you have the Create Forms module, the Enter Data module, the Analyze Data module, which is further divided into two. We have a Classic module and a Visual Dashboard module. We have Create Maps, and we have StatCalc. Now, all of these modules can actually be seen upon opening your Epi Info 7 software. There you go. So if you have successfully downloaded your Epi Info 7, you should be able to see it in your desktop. So the icon, let me put it into hands-on. The icon for Epi Info 7 should look like this. I'm a person that is not fond of creating icons inside my desktop, so let me... This is actually my desktop. So as you can see, there are many files out there, and I don't want to create another icon that would further crowd my desktop. So I access my Epi Info through here in the search bar of the start menu. So I type Epi Info, and a program called launchepinfo.exe pops up. So if I click on this, I would be able to see, sorry, let me just close this. I would be able to see Epi Info TM. So these are your different modules. These are the different modules that you would be using inside Epi Info. Now let's talk about them a little bit. The Create Forms module takes you to the part of Epi Info that allows you to create your data collection tool. So upon clicking on that, okay, let me just do it since we're doing a hands-on. If I click on this, you would be able to see a window. A window would pop out that looks like this. So here on the right side, you have a canvas. And if you click on New Project, let's name it randomly. Oh, spaces are not allowed. Okay, I'm just setting it up so that you can see what it looks like if you're actually going to use this one. Okay, let's just wait for it. There. If you're going to utilize this, you'd be presented with a canvas. And inside this canvas, you can create certain fields. For example, text. What is your name? Oh, what is your... Okay, this is a very bad example because of the Data Privacy Act. But let's say that you're asking for the name of the person. You can actually create a form that looks like this. So just imagine that you'll be creating several fields for the different questions that you have inside your questionnaire, and you'd be able to create a digital data collection tool. Now, that is what you can accomplish using this module. That is the Create Forms module. Now, the Enter Data module, if you click on it, you'd be presented with this one, which actually looks very similar with the previous one. But this is a different module. It allows you to enter data into previously created forms. I'm gonna open a random form here. There, this is an Epi Info 7 anxiety questionnaire. So as you can see, if I want to encode data, I can do it using the Enter Data module. So if I click on New Record, I could click on Mail, 15 to 30, and answer yes or no questions, so on and so forth. So all of this can be accomplished using the Enter Data module. So that's a very, very quick example. This is actually not part of your lecture, but if you, I'd like to raise your interest regarding this certain software because it's actually free, and you can do a lot of things with Epi Info 7. Create maps, I won't be opening that. It requires a lot of navigation, but it's kind of self-explanatory. You'd be able to create maps with coordinates inside that module. StatCalc allows you to compute for sample sizes, compute for power, do power analysis, so on and so forth. So here is an example of a calculator for population surveys or descriptive studies wherein simple random sampling is done. So here, you have population size. You can set it to whatever value. If you have an idea of what the population is, you can change that. And here are the other, sorry, I shouldn't be discussing it very deeply, but here are the things that you need to fill out in order for you to see what is the required sample size, considering these are the different factors inside your study. So you can accomplish sample size computation using StatCalc. Now, The modules of our interest are the classic module and the visual dashboard module. This video lecture will be focused mostly on the classic module. So the classic module allows us to clean, transform, and analyze our data with certain commands. Now, please click on this one. As you can see, once you click on the classic module, you'd be greeted with this kind of primitive looking interface. But nonetheless, it's still very easy to navigate to. Let's just go back with the PowerPoint. So again, the last thing that you've done is click on the classic window, and you should be able to see, pardon, this one. You were greeted by this interface. Now let's try to identify its parts so that we won't be confused once we get into doing the commands inside the classic module. Excuse me. So we have the output window, which is located on the box, which it's actually the box wherein you have the text, the large Epi Info text. So that is the output window. Now below it is what you call the program editor. Now each time you enter a command using the command tree, which is located on the left side of the software, you'd be able to see it come through into codes inside the program editor. Now, we have told you, or I have told you, that it's actually a user-friendly software and that it's a point-and-click software. You actually do your points and clicks inside the command tree. Now, once you do points and clicks inside the command tree, you should be able to see its corresponding codes in the program editor, which you would not be navigating in any way or so in this lecture. Now, if you've successfully clicked on the correct commands, a certain output would of course appear where? In the output window. So that's how this certain interface works. Now let's talk about a bit of what you have learned in the previous lectures. You have learned about summary statistics, right? So summary statistics consists of measures of central tendency, measures of dispersion, and measures of location. Under your measures of central tendency, you have your mean, your median, and your mode. Under measures of dispersion, you have your standard deviation, variance, and coefficient of variation. In your measures of location, you have your percentiles. You might have also learned about quartiles, deciles, etc., etc. All of this can actually be outputted inside Epi Info 7. So there is a point and click way in which you can output this descriptive statistics. You might have also heard about certain univariate analysis. When we say univariate analysis, we're only interested with one outcome variable. In the future, you'd be learning more about this. For example, chi-square and Fisher's exact test. I think you have a separate lecture for chi-square test in the last 3 days. Odds ratios, risk ratios, which you would be learning in your Epidemiology 201, as well as risk difference. The most common univariate analysis that may be of knowledge to you, the t-test and the analysis of variances. You can also do that inside Epi Info 7, as well as correlation analysis, both Pearson and Spearman. It can also accommodate multivariate analysis. For example, I think this should be multivariable. Let's just rephrase that. Multivariable analysis, for example, linear regression, logistic regression, and even survival analysis. So even complicated analysis can actually be done by Epi Info 7. Yet again, that is not our interest in this lecture. Our interest here is how to summarize your data and how to present your data. So that would be tabulations, frequencies, proportions, descriptive statistics, as well as the generation of graphs. All right. Let's go with how to open a dataset first. It's the most simple thing that we need to learn. So the command there would be the read command. So you use the read command in order to analyze data that must be read from a project. Let me just switch on to hands-on. There. So if I go to my Epi Info 7 classic module, I would be clicking on read. It's located on the left side of your screen. It's under the data folder. You have the command called read. It's at the topmost. Now, what I want you to do is click on browse, which is under data source. If you are kind of slow into following the video, you can actually rewind this as a benefit of having a video lecture. You can rewind it so that you can check if you did it correctly. Now, what I want you to do is to open or browse to the file that was given alongside this video and this PowerPoint. The file is called Bioman Clean. Okay, did something wrong. And under database type, before we click on browse, okay, erase. Before we click on browse, under database type, let's choose Microsoft Excel 97 to 2003. Now, just a little bit discussion. You can actually open a variety of files inside Epi Info 7. So as you can see there, you can actually open Microsoft Access files, which are .mdb. You can open Epi Info 7 projects, which are .prjs. And you can open Excel files, which are the .xls and .xlsx. Your .xlsx are the more recent versions. Since our data file is a 97 to 2003 workbook, we will be opening a .xls. So let's click on that. And then under data source, please open the Excel file which was given alongside this lecture. The title of that file is Bioman Clean. Okay, having trouble finding mine. Okay, I'm just waiting to find my file. It's actually in my desktop. Here we go. So this is the file. It's called Bioman Clean. Now you have a tick box here, a checkbox. If you check it, Epi Info 7 would consider the first row as header information. Now, what am I talking about here? Let me open the Excel file that we are trying to load inside Epi Info 7. Clean. If you'd be opening the Excel file, you would see that the first row actually contains the variable names. So in that case, it would be appropriate to check this box, leave it checked, so that the first row would be considered as header information. So I'm just going to click OK. And then I'm going to pick data there. And then I'm going to click OK. Now, what is under Data Source Explorer? Under Data Source Explorer, you're able to see the different tabs inside the Excel file. What I want you to do is click on Data, because this is our data. Have you clicked it? Okay, let me just go back to the PowerPoint. If you were able to do it correctly, there, you should be able to see this output. So you have inside your output window current data source, which is the location of the file that you have opened, a record count, which specifies how many records or observations there are inside your dataset. So it says here there are 101 records. It also shows you the time and date that the time and date where this data set was opened. So mine was May 9, 2019 at 3:31 p.m. If you would also be looking at the program editor, you'd be able to see that the read command was translated into a series of codes. Now, you don't need to learn this. I'm just telling you that every time you enter a command, it should be reflected inside the program editor. Okay, the next thing that we would be learning about is statistics. And I would be showing that in a few.